So to start with, let's kind of set the stage by putting down the key facts that we have to contend with. The first one, or the first two facts, are really the contrast between what is happening to the wages of most people and to the income of the richest among us in the wealthiest society. So if we're looking at the US, this is the US, we're seeing on the left-hand side how the wages of people who have less education, so these are the redder the curve, the less education people have been actually literally falling in real time since the 1970s, while the wages of the most highly educated, so that's the blue curves, have been increasing. But even of the wages of people who have had just a bachelor degree in pale blue have been more or less stagnating. So that's situation one, that's for men. For women, the decrease is less, but of course from a lower level. So what has happened to women is that they have been catching up an historical gap while swimming upstream with respect to the general decline in wages, leading to to a relative stagnation in the wages of women, even as the woman to men wage gap was compressing steadily during this period. So that contrast, the fact that the wages of everyone on average, and in particular of the low-educated workers, have been falling down steadily since the 70s and 80s, and this huge increase concomitant of the income of the top 1% is what we have to discuss. What you're seeing on the right-hand side graph, you might have hardly distinguished a little red line, red horizontal line. You might have thought this is just a nice border for the graph. But in fact, it is the pre-tax national income of the bottom 50%. So basically, altogether, there is a total stagnation since 1920 of the income of the bottom 50%, if you put it in perspective with what was happening to the richest among us. Now that's the first two facts. With that has gone an increasing, still stultifying immobility of people across generation, of the wages of people across generation. So the mobility of people, of kids relative to their parents have been mostly flat since the 80s as well. You can see it here, the flatter line with the empty triangles are data that are coming from tax records that allows Ratchati and his team to calculate for the population at large what's the chance for any particular child, given the quintile of income of their parents, to end up in a given quintiles. And what you can see is that basically since the 1980s, the chance that someone, for example, who is born among one of the poorest in the first quintile to end up in the top quintile is less than 10% and really hasn't changed. And similarly, for the top income, if you were born in the top income, you have 30% chance in the top. If you were born of parents in the top quintile of the income distribution, you have 35% chance of ending up in the top distribution yourself, which is much better than chance. If you look at it even more closely, and you're looking not just at transition from quintiles to quintile, which is something that you might think is hard to do, and you look just at whether a child earns more than their parents. This is very much something that in the 50s was sort of the bread and butter of the American dream. You can see that as of 1940, 90% of kids did earn more money in real terms than their parents. This is what you see in the graph on the right. That's what the curve tells us. This is a fraction of children earning more than their parents. It was above 90% in 1940. But it's been steadily declining since then, such that by 1984, if the parents are from 1984, the chance that a child born in that year of earning more than their parents is only a half. So now basically parents cannot be ensured anymore that what they are going to bequeath to their children is better than what they experience themselves.